kick your arm. Again. Low kick, snap up, switch kick. Now, the only thing about the switch kick, if you notice that one thing to fix is, when I do the switch kick, my arm's up in front, it's down here. When I do the switch kick, I bring my arm out. And that really does expose your entire side. So if he delivers a well-timed counterattack, like a probably push kick or side kick, I'd hit him, but then the side kick would impact me straight in the opening. Try to keep the arm up for that. So, boom. And another thing is when you do the switch kick, to get full power of the switch kick, these switch kicks are really bad. So I'm hitting in my hip, the bag is right here. This would be if my hip was facing the bag. My hip is actually more like that. So the kick is hitting there, so I'm not getting full power. So to get full power for the switch kick, do low kick snap. You can do it, make sure the hip actually turns. You get more power, make it so that when your hip turns when you finish, or where you want to finish, is not where the side of your hip is right in line with the bag. It's actually after the bag. So you're hitting through your opponent. And you're going to hit with more force that way. So I'm just going to do an over roundhouse kick to see how I stopped before. That was that. This is if your hip is lined up with the bag at the end. And this will be if the hip is after. You can get a tremendous amount more power for such a little switch. Let's see, another combination I just thought of is starting with the same thing. Low kick, snap. And then what you can do is low kick, snap, and just like the push kick side. And what's great about this move is if you can get the technique right, you can have a really powerful side kick. Because, swap. A side kick is this. You bring your knee up, and it's chambered. So it's against your, still next to your body, it's chambered, it's ready to go. From this position, you just go straight out. That's a side kick. So, chamber, then straight out, and all the force just goes out in that one leverage movement. That's the side kick. And I think if you do everything right, then you can get the chamber right there. You do mid kick, chamber, works out. Continue on with some more things. Quick overview. Same low kick thing, but if you remember last time it was low kick in, fake low, snap up, and then combinations after that. I'll just overview that real quick. One of them. That's another one. And I have some others, but those are the two main ones. Just have another thing too to work on is roundhouse. Bring it down, quick land, turn, and then hit. Key about this is I've noticed that a lot of times when I do spinning hook kicks or something like that, I hit with the legs sideways. So my toes are like that, pinning like that. I want to hit like that where the heel hits, not the side of the foot. Side of the foot still works, but heel is more devastating because it's the strongest bone in your body. This new one still uses the low kick leader, but it's almost, this is meant for if your opponent retreats out of the distance of your low kick. Because mostly if they can retreat out of your low kick, if you land it and go, you can still get a good roundhouse kick in, but they might actually go further than that out of your roundhouse kick range, and that's where this move comes in. A couple variations, and then I'm going to try combination, so it can account for certain situations, the two main situations to run into. Now imagine you did the low kick, and then your opponent retreats out of distance. Low kick. So what you do is, low kick, you don't even land the leg that does the low kick. It's still in the air from the kick. Then what you do, you start to turn your body. As you lift up your planted leg in this situation, my planted leg is my right leg. As you turn, keeping your left leg up, you start to bring it around. As you bring up your right leg, because your right leg's going to do the kick. Your left leg lands, and then you give off a kick. It could be a side kick if you wanted to, but what you want to keep as a key still is when you jump into the air, try to keep your chamber position. This is going to help later on in my second situation. So, just quickly to see. And if you can get everything to work right, it's a pretty devastating kick. Now here's the reason why you want to keep your foot chambered. Imagine if I did the low kick. And then when I go to do the spinning kick, my opponent doesn't retreat far enough away. So when I spin around, I end up like running into him during my jump. This will help. This will protect you if you're like this for one thing. Because when you attach coming this way, and then if you keep your arms up, he'll protect that way. So you'll just run into your opponent. If you're lucky, you'll just bounce off or he'll bounce off. So not too much. But if he's just far enough away, so maybe you're landing here instead of like out here to get the kick off, even if you're this close, if you can bring your knee up far enough, you can still get a hit off into the low part of their body. Because this lower tape would represent, this is the solar plexus. So even if you can get a hit low down here, it's still going to hit in this area, which is still devastating. Getting punched in the stomach, or even kicked in the stomach, isn't too pleasant. So you'd hit low, at the low end of the stomach, it would still work. Also, this variation is, if you know for a fact that they're probably not going to go far enough, but you get an effective kickoff, you can trick them, and instead of using a kick, you hit them with an elbow or a punch. So it's still a low kick. The launch off is still the same, but instead of going for a kick, what you do is, you go in, elbow, or what you can do is backhand it. And what you can do to try to make it seem like you're going to do a kick too is when you do the low kick and you start launching, you can start whipping your right leg out a little. Start whipping it and then pull it back and then hit it. So, slow motion would be fake, boom, instead. Also, if you can get it right, you could actually hit it with your knee a little bit, and that would probably do something too. Just gonna reposition the camera real fast, just so you can see the footwork of that. This is just real fast, just to kind of see how that foot launch and stuff is supposed to go down. So start with the low kick, low kick, low kick, low kick, and then round and go. I'm gonna try it with the other side real fast, just to see if you can see a little bit. Low kick. Low kick. Low kick. Keep it out there. Bring it around, lift up, and then it's the projection. What actually gives you the projection forward isn't once you land this foot back down here when you're turning. The launch is actually from the foot that's planted. This is my right foot. So it would be a low kick, bring around. As you're bringing it around before your low kick, foot even lands, you jump off, but you jump off at an angle. So do that. As you turn, your foot should almost be, your toes should almost be facing the complete opposite direction you were facing before. So when you jump off to do the kick, you can jump that way too. And then you just land your left foot so you have a planted balance. Okay. So some of the new combinations I've come up with as far as kicking goes. Some key tips that just to remind, as a reminder, head kicks can be lethal, but they can be dangerous, because think about it, you have to hit all the way up there, up here, which you really can't see too well, all the way up here. And if your leg is all the way up there, your foot, your body is off balance like crazy, and a sweep will bring you down. So if you're going to go for a head kick, make sure it counts and do it quickly. So it's not like, oh, I got him. Make it go, and you're good. Make it quick, because you want to get back your balance as quickly as possible. Key is, the easiest part to protect without doing any much movement is this section, because in a fighting stance, your arms are usually in the way. The slow area is pretty good, the sides, because getting hit in the sides, it's actually a pain in the butt. But if you want to, if you keep hitting the arms, first you get lazy or tired, And surprisingly, even though your arms are naturally like in this stance, like here's my left arm is covering the top part of my body, and then here's my right arm is, fighting stance wise, it's protecting there. Somehow, kicks can get under that. And here's one tip. Instead of, to also help get under the arm, instead of always hitting straight horizontally, like that, for the entryway, so instead of, then from here basically hitting, come in on an angle, so you're coming in like that, instead, just so fast. Instead of coming in up, basically turning and snapping into the person's body, come up on an angle, like that. And if you can do it right, you can hit right under the arm and still hit there. So up instead of go. Both work. It's just that if you have problems getting past the arm and you don't mind the risk of possibly hitting the person's elbow, you can have to come up in on an angle instead of always going horizontally. That would be horizontally, and then on a vertical. They both have power. It's just that they're directed differently. Now you might see this and be like, well, when you kick horizontally, the bag moves more that way. Then when you kick or not vertically, on an angle, the bag only moves like that much. That's because when you're kicking horizontally, all the force is going in this direction, so the bag carries all of it. When you kick on an angle, you have some energy going, all the energy is going on a diagonal, so you have some going vertically, physical-wise, split up your components together. Some going horizontally, some going vertically, so you don't have as much, you don't have all the force going in one direction. You have actually going at an angle. So what the foot's trying to do is lift the bag up, and since it's too heavy, they just like lift up like tremendously, like that can move sideways. It gives less of an effect, but the impact is just as great. Horizontal, bag. Still has a tremendous amount of power, so keep that in mind. It can also help with combinations because you do like diagonal, horizontal, diagonal, horizontal, and you can actually get interesting from this diagonal position. Even if your leg is fully extended, a switch up for horizontal can actually give a decent amount of power. So like, well, diagonal footing, it works pretty well. Okay, so here's some things to work on. Work on the main thing to work on is the low kick, snap up to mid, left snap up to mid, and then the switch kick. So basically, if you can do the switch kick, then you have set in your mind the ability to switch from one leg to the other leg quickly and getting power behind it. So, boom, 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 boom. That's what you're going to do. And, because then after that, it's pretty easy. Then you can just do that. And then you're going to have to do these. Spinning hook kicks after that. So it'd be low switch up, crescent kick around. And that's where the other thing to work on is. Roundhouse kick, quick land, turn, and hit. So that'll give you the turn. So you have low to mid switch kick to get the hip switching this way. So from this stance, you get that hip switch. And then you have the roundhouse kick, bring it around. Oh, and remember, on this kick with roundhouse, when you bring it around, land the kicking foot. So it's really quick. So just hit, bring around, land real fast, spin. It'll just help you get a little extra projection off. Also, it's helpful that if you do the kick and you start to bring it back and you want to do the kick and you see your opponent coming in, you can stop the kick by planting your foot. So if you go straight from here to there, it leaves a lot of open time for your opponent to bring you off balance. So by planting your foot, it gives you an instance to check the situation really quick, see if you're doing anything, and go for the kick. This kick will help develop the spinning hook kick. And then once you have that down, you can combine it into the low snap up, crescent kick, and then it's the same hook kick. So you already have that, it's still in your mind. And then the new technique I started with the low kick, projecting off, the flying side kick, basically, spinning flying side kick. Just work on that because it'll help with foot projection. Because imagine, if you keep pushing on your foot fast enough to bring it off and then hitting the bag every time, you're just gonna make your leg stronger and stronger, and you're also gonna get used to turns. This is it's a 180 turn to the kick, and then if you can finish off with a foot landing in the back, you just do a 360 here with an impact at the 180 point, which is gonna be helpful. Because if you can get that good, then what you can also do is you add something to it. After you do this, if you can land out, you can go for another side, not side kick, roundhouse kick. But for now, low switch to mid, switch kick, roundhouse, fiddle kick, and the low kick, the flying spinning side kick. And those are the things to work on. Also, and don't worry about the variation for the last technique. Also something to work on is just plain roundhouse kicks. Just getting used to impact. And getting used to hip turns again. So you turn your hips to make sure you get maximum power into it. Hit through your opponent. Imagine how it gets behind your opponent. So when you make, like if I'm going to kick this side, and this is the entire width of my opponent, I'm trying to actually hit out here. Not like here. I want to hit there. So that's where the hip and foot, well that's where the hip should end. Okay. So make sure you turn your hip into it. And you're going to get that max power, because your foot's going to want to cut through. Same thing as punches. If I want to hit here, imagine like my target belly back there. So you're like, okay look, I hit him. And finish off the punch. Another thing to work on would be just crescent kicks in general. Like front kicks are pretty easy. Those will develop because the motion for the front kick, the snap is basically the same as that way.